Wow. So, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. It's a pleasure and an honor to be with you this hour. And I'd like to appreciate everyone for coming on live with me. Um, Thank you for all your commitment over time and all the data, all the energy you've poured into being a part and parcel of this live broadcast. So, from Born to Lead, we'll say a big thank you to everyone who has constantly followed us over time. So, like I've mentioned a few weeks back, we're hoping that in February we'll start a formal leadership training for every interested person who has followed this broadcast and just feels that he or she would like to grow in bigger dimension, in stronger dimensions as far as his or her leadership abilities are concerned. Now, I can tell you this for certain that the things you would learn from BTL Leadership Academy you will not find anywhere else. Now, even if you find something close to it, you won't get exactly what we're going to be sharing with you. We're going to be using a number of experts to talk on several topics, to expatiate on um, various areas of life. And we're hoping that by the time that our sessions are done, and with the assignments, tasks, and responsibilities that you'll be given to do, that you'll be a better person and your environment will enjoy a peaceful atmosphere, as it were. So these are the things that Born to Lead will be pursuing this year. There are several other projects that we've set ahead of us. But be that as it may, let me welcome you to today's broadcast and to say that I'm excited that you're already online with me, and to assure you that today's session will be an eye opener, particularly if you're going through tough times. Okay? If you're going through tough times. At the moment, being in Nigeria, I know has been quite difficult for us to live in, but I can tell you this for sure and for certain that there are several people in Nigeria that, in spite of the fact that things have been tough, they've been sailing through. All right, they found easy ways to go around the difficulties around them. Okay, now every one of us can go through tough times and still be standing, and not only be standing, but standing tall. Okay, so as we do this broadcast, I would encourage you to come online, share your comments, express your heartfelt desires, or express your position, as it were, over the issues that I'll be sharing and discussing with us. Now, note this, the answer does not lie with one person. So I cannot say that the answers lie with me. I cannot say that all the answers lie with me. But I would encourage you, okay, to come online so we can rub minds together and share on the issues that are required for us to I require for us to discuss and elaborate on, so I can know your perspective and I can know and you can know my perspective. So thank you, Joel James Madong, for sending out the first comment. It's an encouragement from you, and I'm exceptionally grateful to you for that purpose. All right. So now let's go into the topic proper. Now, like I said, we all go through tough times. That's the reality of life. We all go through tough times. Now, there are several tough times that, well, basically, all tough times are never envisaged. All tough times are never anticipated. They just suddenly slam themselves over your face. Okay? That's one thing about life. You never can truly anticipate when you find a rough time. You just keep moving along life, and then suddenly things turn around and happen in the manner that you least expect. Okay, when the Titanic was formed or was manufactured, and the manufacturers had this confidence to say that not even God could sink it, Therefore, they refused several warnings about ice or iceberg ahead of them. Suddenly, they hit the iceberg, and everyone in the ship who thought they had full confidence about life suddenly went into panic mode to the extent that hundreds of persons were lost because of that one voyage. Now, the manufacturers of Titanic never anticipated that trouble, but the trouble came, and it came in a manner that they could not envisage, a manner that even to raise um, to create security for those in the ship was something else. Okay, so this is how trouble lands upon us. I've shared this story several times. I wrote an exam, my WAEC, and I flopped it. Now, at that time, I could really lift my head up high because everywhere I went, it just felt like everyone was pointing a finger at me. Oh, this is the boy who wrote his WAEC and flopped. Okay? You just faced several tough times. You probably had a job, started the job well, and then somewhere along the line, you were fired. Now, because of the COVID pandemic, a number of people have lost their jobs. And suddenly, people who didn't have savings, people who didn't have second jobs, just discovered that they were in trouble and the trouble has slammed them, and now things are becoming too difficult for them. So, every one of us go through tough times. Every one of us. You can hardly plan for tough times. You can hardly envisage tough times. You can hardly um, prepare well for tough times. You can hardly prepare well for tough times. They just slam you on the face. And but when they come, there are certain things you can do to be able to go through them. There are certain things you can do to be able to survive, not just to survive, but to thrive through tough times. And so, some of these things I'll be sharing with us this afternoon and hoping that you get a grip of this topic or you get a grip of these issues so that you can sail pretty well and succeed in all that you do. All right. So, Bitrus Boala, I see that you're putting an angry face. It's either because you're going through tough times and perhaps this sounds strange to you, or that you're not hearing yet what I'm going to say regarding this. But just express yourself. Feel free, express yourself. State out the things that are in your mind and say the way that you feel regarding them. Now, the truth is, like I mentioned, every one of us go through tough times, and going through tough times can be exceptionally difficult, exceptionally tough. All right. Before we go deep, let me send out this motivational for every one of us who is going through tough times to know that tough times do not last. So enjoy this, and I'll join you in a moment. For somebody going through tough times, let me ensure that you've got a full screen of this so that once it plays, you can enjoy what it says. All right? All right, so we go again. For somebody struggling just to keep your head above water, you're trying, but things don't seem to be quite working out the way you planned. You thought you'd be in a different place at this season in your life, but you're still suffering. You have no say-so in what happens to you, but you have a say-so in what you do about it. You have a determining voice into where your life can go. See, life is 10% what happens to you. It's 90% what you do about it. You get a setback. You get thrown off course. You lost your mama. That's dirt. But show me something that has grown into something beautiful that didn't have no dirt on it. You need dirt on you to develop, because dirt ain't just dirt. Dirt is fertilizer.
Dirt is neutral. Dirt gives you the strength for your seed to push through. You gotta have dirt on you to push through something. Everything you see that's beautiful starts out as a seed, but that seed got to get dirt on it. You got to have dirt on you to grow into what life got for you.
The only thing I want from you is that every single day, when uncertainty creeps in, I need you to get up and I need you to go heavy on it. In the midst of opposition, in the midst of challenges, in the midst of adversity, when you taste a little bit of blood and something happens that you didn't expect to happen, I need you to go heavy on it.
You gotta be willing to go after your stuff. You gotta be willing to go after whatever has got your name on it. Sometimes you gotta fight your way over. Sometimes you gotta fight your way through. Sometimes you gotta look in the mirror and say, listen, I ain't got nobody else to encourage us right now. It's just me and you. But I'm telling you, you're the head and not the tail. And I'm fighting for me, or my house, or my children, or my brothers, or my sisters, or my husband, or my vision, or my dream. I'm gonna stand right here, and I ain't giving up my children. I'm not giving up my money. Stand. You can't keep quitting your whole life. You can't keep backing up, and you can't keep fading, taking 2 steps forward and 3 steps back. After a while, there ought to be something in our life that we stand through. Sicknesses that you stood through, struggles that you stood through, weaknesses that you stood through, crises that you stood through, pressures that you stood through. That is where character is developed. That's what defines our destiny when you are in the middle of transition.
All right. That was aimed at pushing you and getting you to understand what it means to go through tough times. Okay? What it means to go through tough times. Now, a couple of things were mentioned in that one clip that we just went through at the moment, but and it just depends on what you have grabbed, all right, through the that motivational video that has just gone out. Now, the key thing that I grabbed is that life is 10% what happens to you, 90% how you respond to what happens to you. And that's what we're going to be looking at today. All right? 10% of what happens to you, 90% of how you respond to what happens to you. By the way, let me say, there is nothing that you can be going through right now that has not been gone through by several humans. Nothing. Okay? And I make no light of your situation. So, for example, you may be sick right now, but I can tell you of countless numbers of persons who have been sick and have recovered from their sicknesses and have turned their sicknesses into strength. Okay? Now, Les Brown is one example, a good motivational speaker, one who inspired me to take up this challenge to do this leadership training. All right? Les Brown has suffered cancer for more than 20 years. He's moved around with this cancer. Not everybody knows about it, except if he speaks about it. Okay? He's lived with this cancer for over 20 years. And he's been able to not only manage the cancer, but to use the cancer to teach people as to how to survive tough times in life. He has turned around the situation. He's turned the picture around. He's looked at the other side of his story and has stood upon the strength of the fact that he's surviving cancer and moving on. I remember like 3-4 years ago when he was to have his surgery, and on his bed, on his sick bed, he used the opportunity to do a teaching that has gone viral. Okay? He said, just in case he goes in and doesn't come out, let that be his last teaching. This is someone who has motivated millions of people around the world, and yet He's been struggling with sickness. So just in case you have one ailment or the other and you think that the world has come to an end, I've just pointed a person to you who has gone through that. A member of my church gave birth to children only about 3 years ago after 20-something years of marriage. So just in case you're going through the tough time of childlessness at the moment and thinking that the world has come to an end, I tell you an example of Elder Alfie. I don't know if I should call his name. Well, I've called his name. Who, with his wife, has spent more than 20 years in marriage, and suddenly they began to have children. Now, I say it again, regardless of what you are going through, no matter how deep your sorrows are, no matter how tough your times are, there are people who have gone through tougher times than what you are going through at the moment. They have survived it. They have turned the tables around. They have made the foundation of their foot or their feet the problems that they used to have. Okay? It said that well over 90% of billionaires today were once bankrupt. Can you imagine that? Now the question will be, how did they grow from bankruptcy to becoming billionaires? The truth is that they did not think that bankruptcy was a final station, a final situation for them in life. They did not think in that respect. In fact, a number of them viewed bankruptcy as the foundation for their growth, and they moved on. So don't ever think that your tough time is or should be your final destination. I'm sure that a number of us know the bamboo story. All right? I'm sure that a number of us know the story about the bamboo. Now, let me share perhaps what some of us already know as the story of the bamboo. Now, you know that the bamboo is about the tallest, one of the tallest, some call it a shrub, some call it a tree, some call it a plant, but whatever, however you see, it's one of the tallest plants in the world. All right? It's so thin, so flexible that when winds blow, all right, it bends to the direction of the winds. As soon as the winds settle or the storms settle, it comes back to its original position. That's what a bamboo does. Now, this is an Asian quote. It says, when the storm comes, the bamboo bends with the wind. When the storm ceases, it resumes its upright position. Rarely do you see a bamboo bend. Rarely. I have never seen a bamboo bend except that which was willfully bent by human hands. Okay? But every time the bamboo stands, it stands upright, it stands straight. The bamboo has been used for buildings. It can be used as scaffolds. It can be used to build bridges. It can be used to build the structure of houses and so on and so forth. But how does the bamboo grow? How does the bamboo grow? Now it is worthy of note, all right, that the bamboo, when planted, within 5 years does not grow. How interesting. I would suppose that it tests the resolve of the person planting it. So the bamboo will be planted, and for 5 years you would water the ground where you planted the bamboo, and it won't grow. Now, for 4 years, imagine for 4 years and a half, you've been watering the ground, nothing is growing, and people have been observing you. I'm sure you would know and recognize that a number of people will think that you are sick. That a number of people will think that you are mad. Now, as you keep watering, suddenly in the 5th year, it grows, it springs out. And this is the interesting thing about the bamboo. As soon as it springs out, it is recorded that the bamboo tree grows 2 meters daily. All right, averagely, it grows 2 meters daily. That is about my height on a daily basis. No wonder it grows very tall. Now, within the period of growth, within the period of planting, the bamboo goes through tough times, deepens its roots to the ground. It frustrates to an extent the person who has planted, except someone who knows and understands that this is how the bamboo behaves. But the day that the bamboo shoots forth, it grows even beyond the human who planted it. That's the story of the bamboo. And like the quote on the screen shows, when the storm comes, the bamboo begins with or bends with the wind. When the storm ceases, it resumes its upright position. You may wonder why. My thought is that it took time to grow its roots deep down. And those moments of growth came at the moment of tough times for both the bamboo and the person planting the bamboo. Now, there are some basic thoughts about tough times. The first is that tough times are a part of life. Now, whether you like it or not, you will go through tough times. In fact, nobody plans tough times. Nobody. Well, there are days that you may just deliberately want to go through tough times to perhaps test your strength or build your strength. I'm not talking about those situations. I'm talking about situations where things that were unplanned suddenly come to you. The truth is that there is no human who does not go through tough times. Tough times are a part of life, and no matter how organized, no matter how well planned you are, you will go through tough times. Why? Because tough times are a part and parcel of life. The next is that tough times do not last. Robert Schuller says tough times never last, but tough people do. What a reality. Tough times never last, but tough people do. My God. Now, I guess that you've heard of the word depression. And I guess that if you've known of the word depression and have observed people who go through depression, you understand that what they were going through before the depression was equal to or lesser than what someone had gone through and the person didn't go through depression. Now, please get me right. I'm not suggesting that the people who go through depression didn't have a right to experience the pain that they experienced. What I'm pointing out is that there are persons who have gone through tougher situations but stood their ground. And in agreeing with Robert Schuller, he says tough times never last, but tough people do. The clip we watched some seconds ago or some minutes ago indicates that you can rise up from the ashes and do something positive with your life. So the truth is that tough times never last, but tough people do. And tough people are people who, like the bamboo, they are able to bend with the wind. They are able to bend with the storm. The storm doesn't break them. The storm bends them. But as soon as the storm is over, they are back to their feet. They are standing upright again. They are walking through life as if they never went through the storm. Those are tough people. very tough. I guess I've shared this in one of my broadcasts. All right, that okay. So my dad was an Air Force officer, Air Force officer, a non-commissioned officer who rose through the ranks. At one point in service, for 11 years, he wasn't promoted. There were several comments, statements that were made by people as to how slow he was in going to pursue promotion. He should write a petition seeking to be promoted and so on and so forth. You know what I learned from my dad? My dad was not moved. First, by the fact that he wasn't promoted. Second, by the fact that people spoke all sorts of things that they wanted to speak. But this is the interesting part of the story. It got to a point where in 2 years, my dad got 2 promotions. And at his retirement, he retired at the same rank with those who had gone ahead of him, his colleagues who had been promoted several times ahead of him. Now, tough times do not last, but tough people do. And that's the essence of today's lesson, to make you understand that though tough times come to every human, though every one of us faces a tough time, yet tough times do not last. And like Robert Schuller would say, tough times never last, but tough people do. All right? Tough people do. The next thing you must note is the fact that tough times are your season of growth. Tough times give you an opportunity for growth. Now, unless a seed falls to the ground, it will remain alone and will never rise up to form other seeds. But when a seed falls to the ground, when you plant a seed, it goes through tough times in the soil. It decays. And then from within it, a beautiful sprout comes forth. That sprout struggles to break the ground. And as soon as the ground is broken, it gets opportunity to continue growing. That's what happens in the case of the bamboo. It takes time to break the ground. But having broken the ground, what does it do? It grows to nearly endless heights. All right? So tough times are an opportunity for everyone who wants to grow. A problem, this is what Duke Ellington says, a problem is a chance for you to do your best. The electricity was discovered during darkness. Coca-Cola, and this is not an advertisement for Coca-Cola, my best drink as it were, Coca-Cola is such a refreshing drink, but when you read the history of Coca-Cola, you discover that it was discovered or it was invented during tough times. First, there was a sickness, vaccines were looked for, Coca-Cola was invented. Unfortunately, the lab attendant poured so much water into the drug that it became more like a drink. The pharmacist took it, tested it, and liked it and began to sell it as a drink. All right? So that's how Coca-Cola came to be. Now, it was in the time of problem that Coca-Cola was invented. It was in tough times that Coca-Cola was discovered. Look around you. You discover that everything worthwhile, everything that has grown, everything that has been developed was developed during tough times. Electricity, refrigerators, air conditioning systems, just name them, motor vehicles, all these were discovered during tough times. And I do challenge you to understand that tough times are seasons for growth. They are not seasons when you grumble. Of course, that's the tendency for most humans to grumble. They are not times that you fold your hands and wait for death. No. These are times where you convert your problems to fertile soil, very fertile soil for you to sow and to grow. So Duke Ellington says this: a problem is a chance for you to do your best. Just look around you. If there's any tough time, any problem you are going through at the moment, ask yourself the question, what fertile ground does this problem represent? What fertile ground does this problem represent? And I can tell you this for sure, you will discover unthinkable things. Unthinkable things. Now, having said that, what should we be doing when we come across tough times? Number one, recognize your reality. Accept the fact that you are going through tough times. And I'm saying this particularly for people of faith. We've come to a junction in faith where people tell you to fake it until you make it. Where people tell you that when you are going through tough times, deny the fact that you are going through tough times. Pretend that you are going through tough times. Behave as if you were not going through tough times. And they assure you that if you do that, suddenly your situation will change. But I disagree with that, because first you must learn to recognize your reality. You must learn to accept the fact that you are going through tough times. It is in acknowledging the fact that you are going through tough times that you begin to think of solutions out of your tough times. If there's anyone who should know this any better, it should be Martin Luther King Jr., who says we must accept finite disappointment, but we must never lose infinite hope. We must accept finite disappointment, but we must never lose infinite hope. This to me says, acknowledge the fact that you are going through tough times. Recognize your reality. You cannot be broke and yet be covering the fact that you are broke financially. Well, if you hide it from others, at least let yourself know, acknowledge it, accept it in your life. That way you face reality, that way you begin to search for opportunities. All right? You begin to search for opportunities to do great things. So acknowledge, recognize, and accept the fact that you are going through tough times. The next is for you to do what? To reframe your mind. To reframe your mind. In other words, though you acknowledge that you are going through tough times, to reframe your mind will simply mean that you become positive in outlook. All right? Of course, there are so many people who are negative about how they see life. All right? There are so many people who are negative once any situation comes to them in life. Now, my encouragement will be for you to acknowledge the fact that you are in some form of trouble, if at all you are in some form of trouble. Okay? The other will be to also have a positive disposition. All right? Have a positive disposition about the fact that life is tough. Life is tough. Don't just become gloomy. Don't become a grumbler. Don't settle for less. Don't become one who just delights in grumbling. No. Have a positive disposition. All right? Have a positive disposition. And that way, you can easily overcome your storms. All right? That way, you can challenge the storms that are coming up against you in life. Okay? So, that is my advice for you about your disposition. And like Norman Vincent Peale will say, have great hopes and dare to go all out for them. Have great dreams and dare to live them. Have tremendous expectations and believe in them. You must believe that your tough times will not last forever. You must believe that you can go through your tough times successfully. You must believe that though you are down and under at the moment, the top is where you are pursuing, the top is where you are aiming for. Tough times do not last, but tough people do. And tough people become tough because they are positive in their disposition about life. They just know that where they are is not the junction that they should be at the moment, and that what is trapping them will not trap them forever, because they will always overcome it. Always. Always. So you must have a positive disposition about life by reframing your mind. The other is to endure. Endure. Now, my guess is you may say you have endured for so long, but I can encourage you, continue to endure your tough times. Winston Churchill says, never give in, never, never. And guess when he said this? He said this at the Second World War. Britain, a small island nation, attacked by the great forces of Germany, had a positive looking prime minister who could tell these people to never give up, to hold on, to never surrender to the mighty forces of Germany, to push on. So if you're going through tough times, ensure that you never surrender at the foot of the tough times. Never give in. Never, never surrender. Tough soldiers are people who go through very difficult times, but ensure that difficult times do not break them. No matter what you do, don't surrender. Never surrender. I shared a story of my dad a while ago about how he spent 11 years in a rank in the Nigerian Air Force. He never gave up. Now, someone would have, well, of course, some people suggested for him to resign. So many people called for him to resign. Others suggested for him to travel to the headquarters to make press buttons, to make complaints, to cry, and so on and so forth. I learned toughness from him. He didn't give up. He didn't surrender. Another story that my dad reminds me of is the fact that, and I've shared this also again to some people, that for as long as I was in secondary school, my dad never purchased a new clothes. Never. Now, it sounds funny right now. It sounds interesting right now. And you may ask, what importance is that? Now, I can tell you, my dad never gave up on his children. We were 5, all in school. All of our school fees put together. In fact, my school fees alone was bigger than his monthly pay. How he survived it, I cannot tell. But all of us, except one, became graduates. Why? He never gave up, he never surrendered, he pushed on. In spite of the fact that he was held on in promotion, he pushed on, he pushed on, he pushed on until we got to that point. Today, of course, he can have as many clothes as he wants because his children are making effort to make life easy for him. So you must endure your hardships. And the reason being that your hardship tests your perseverance develops character in you. Like I said earlier on, tough times are moments of planting. And if you think positively, if you endure the tough times never last. Suddenly they will disappear. Why? Because you have been resilient. You have been resistant to tough times. You have been tougher than the tough times itself. So you must prove yourself to be tougher than tough times. And how to prove that is to never give up, to never surrender in whatever you do. All right? So the next that I'll suggest for you to do is to remain hopeful, positive at all times. Guaranteed that things will go your way the way that you have anticipated them. All right? So never be sadistic. Never be pushed to the background that you stop believing in yourself. William James says, believe that life is worth living, and your belief will help create the fact. You've heard of people who have committed suicide. Why do you think they committed suicide? Was it because they were happy? No, certainly because they were going through tough times. Because things were hard, were difficult for them. And suddenly, they thought it was time to give up. And they either hung themselves or jumped across the bridge into a river or drank poison, just whatever, they killed themselves. My friend, believe that life is worth living, and your belief will help create the fact. Your belief will help create the fact. You know, a few weeks ago, Forbes magazine brought out the list of richest Africans as it were, and 3 of those on the list of 10 persons were Nigerians or are Nigerians. What does that mean to us? It means that in spite of our deepening economy, some persons are getting rich. Some people are strongly building wealth. Of course, you may argue to say that, well, they started to build wealth over time. I agree with you. But what stops you from building your wealth right now? So that over time we'll hear of your name. The problem with most of us is that we think that when we plant today, we'll reap tomorrow. No, it doesn't happen that way. Sometimes you keep watering, Like the bamboo tree, nothing shows up until the 5th year. And suddenly, the tree busts the ground, shows its head, and before you sleep and wake up, it's grown 2 meters and higher. That's how life runs. So, remain hopeful. Know that things can suddenly change. I'll tell you a story of someone I knew in the days of military era in Nigeria, okay, who was pushing his vehicle for it to start. Every time he struggled to push his vehicle for it to start. Because of his economic situation, he didn't even get married. His best friends were boys within the base, like myself, who were getting close to him. But suddenly, there was an announcement on radio that made him the first governor of Nasarawa State. Of course, the first military administrator or first military governor of Nasarawa State. And suddenly, life changed for him. Now, I also watch a program called Suddenly Rich. And I've watched ordinary people suddenly become millionaires just because they took the risks to play games and things turned around for them. I'm saying be hopeful. Remain hopeful. Always know that this life is worth living. And as you keep deepening that belief within you, suddenly life will change for you. I have no doubt about that because I've experienced certain sudden changes. Never give up on life. What do you do next? And this I recommend that every one of us begins to consider at the moment, because a number of us are going through tough times, difficult times, and we're not knowing that time is passing by and we're not assessing options, our way out, okay, out of the situations that we found ourselves in. So the next point is for you to assess possible options, possible ways out of your current situation. You know, when you trap a rat, I don't know if you've seen videos. When rats have been trapped, they constantly make efforts to find a way out. Of course, sometimes they get too tired and they give up. But the point I'm making now is that there are constant assessments of possible options, possible windows, possible ways out of the current situation or their current situation. So, just like Leila Gifty Akita will say, in any situation, there is a sacred solution. And all you need to do to get your sacred solution is to continue to dig deep in your mind, in your heart, to pursue possible options, to seek a window out of the current situation. Leaders think, and great thinkers get great opportunities. When the light bulb was developed, it took thousands of tests for it to become a light bulb. Of course, anybody would have given up, or a number of people would have given up, suggesting that, well, I've tried once, I've tried twice, there's no window, there's no way out, except for the fact that every time the light bulb failed, all right, every time that the light bulb failed, a test was conducted again and again and again and again and again and again to find possible options out of the situation. And of course, eventually, for over 100 years, we have the light bulb, and not many even recognize that several tests, several options were conducted, all right, to get the light bulb working. So, I suggest to you, assess your current situation, and in assessing your current situation, look for possible options, possible windows out of your current mess. Knowing that this mess will not last forever, it will have an expiry date. Every trouble has an expiry date. You got in one day, you'll get out one day too. All right? So these are things you must do when you are in any form of mess. The next is to choose your direction. You've got several options right now. You've chosen several options that will probably take you out of the mess. But you see, you must make a choice of one of the options, or the best options amongst all the options. Henry Kissinger says this: if you do not know where you are going, every road will get you nowhere. And just like you can see the rail track, once you do not know where you're going, every road just seems like a way out. And like the rail track, zigzags all over. Unless you are directional, unless you are directed, you will miss your way. You can imagine going to a bus park and just boarding any bus that parks in front of you without knowing where the bus is going to, or without knowing where you are going to. So you must choose an option of all the options that you profiled, all the solutions you presented before you. You must choose an option of all the options so you can find a direction. For you to thrive in tough times, you must do all of this. And I would recommend you do them sequentially, which is to first admit that you're in trouble or that the times are tough. To also note that tough times will not last forever. To also understand that because tough times will not last forever, you've got to endure tough times. Because tough people outlast tough times. Once you endure the tough time, please begin to think of your possible way out. Begin to think of options out of your current situation. And as you think out of your current situation, all right, you must choose a direction. Because you cannot just stop at the point of profiling solution. You must choose a worthy solution that you think will be best for you out of your way out. So the reason why rats build several tunnels in their holes is because once you block a hole, they use another hole out. So for you to trap rats, you've got to find out all the windows, all the options, all the alternatives, and block them at the same time. Then you dig up the main hole to get your rat or rabbit. Be like a rat. All right? I'm not trying to demean you, but think like a rat. Create several options and alternatives for yourself. And when danger arises, pick the best option out of the mess, out of the tough time, and work on that option. Dream it, sleep it, eat it, chew it, until it becomes a part and parcel of who you are. And of course, It will not be worthwhile if you just sit and not take action. You may have heard this, all right, that faith without works is dead. So while you believe that you've gotten an option and a way out, you must take action to be able to materialize the way out. You must take bold steps. Like the Chinese will say, the journey of 1,000 miles begins with a step. Take the first step and see your way out. Mario Cuomo says this: there are only 2 rules for being successful. 1, figure out exactly what you want to do. And 2, do it. Like Nike will say, just do it. It is important to note that taking an option and pursuing the option by taking positive actions will lead you out of your tough times. But let me round up by saying that when you take these actions, you must also be patient for your actions to grow and materialize into fruit. If you plant a tree today, a mango tree today, it will take you at least 2 years for you to begin to benefit from that mango tree. And by the way, well, yes, I think I did. Last week I shared the story of a mango tree I planted in a compound. Whilst I was returning from the farm, I saw a man selling trees. I branched off, went and purchased a tree, and his boys were telling me, in 6 months, this mango tree will begin to fruit. And I told them no. No matter how well improved it is, I know that there are certain years that a mango tree will need to take root in a place for it to grow and begin to fruit. Well, this is the 3rd year. It's beginning to fruit and produce beautiful mangoes, but it took some time. It would have been foolhardy for me to think that my mango tree would grow in 2 days. That should be the same thing with you when you take actions. You must give room for growth. Because you must not only endure the tough times, you must endure the season of growth. Whoever you are, whatever tough time you're going through, if you take any of these steps, I am certain that you can make a headway, and I'm certain you can get out of your current situation. But remember, all will be wasted if you do not take steps and take positive steps. Thank you for spending your time with me. And I'll draw the curtain at this time by saying a big thank you to you for agreeing to stay with me all the while. Now, regardless of what tough time you are going through, it is only momentarily, I can assure you. And if you doubt me, think 5 years back and bring a problem that you had 5 years ago and find out where the problem is at the moment. You will suddenly discover that the problem has vanished, that the problem is no more. That's how life runs. After a while, even the problems get tired of remaining in a place. They move on. But they are easier to move on if you take the steps that I've recommended today. And just in case you are just coming online, go back on the video and see the options that you've got to take to be able to make a headway. Thank you so much for joining me. Thank you for spending your time with me. And like I said, BTL Leadership Academy will commence in February. I've posted out forms. I'm going to post out a video to do an advert, and I'm hoping that you will take your time to register at the academy. We're beginning online because of the COVID situation. And I'm sure that wherever you are in the globe or on the globe, all right, wherever you are, I am certain you can be a part and parcel of the BTL Leadership Academy because it is online. Thank you for your time, and do have a blessed week ahead. For Joel James Mandong, Bitrus Boala, thank you for your comments, and I appreciate you so much. And I say enjoy your time out. Bye-bye.